where do the Rockets go from here? And what I'm asking is, Chris Paul, Trevor Ariza, and Clint Capella are all free agents. Do they bring them all back, or do they try to improve the team in other ways?
Well, funny you bring that question up, because I think that after thinking about it, because Chris Paul was obviously decided to move forward and go somewhere else, I mean, where would he go? But the logical thing was to bring all three of them back and limit Chris Paul's minutes during the regular season, because obviously his body cannot withstand a whole 82 game, because he was even hurt during the regular season too as well. So then going into the playoff season, they needed him deeper, because that was the deciding factor. If you look at it, Chris Paul is the body of work that they needed to beat Golden State. It was up 3-2 on them.
Yeah.
And they had that, and he goes down. And James Harden, clearly, they can say he's the MVP all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm here to tell you right now, the MVP would have won them, and they would have been in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I.e., go to the East where the king sits.
Yeah.
He controls that. So I think that they try to keep him, because LeBron James is not coming to Houston.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen, But I think they just got to be more cautious with the minutes they give, because we can already sit there and say that having home field advantage during the playoff, what does that mean? What does that matter?
Yeah.
As long as your team's good and can, obviously, we know that in the West, it is Golden State and Houston right now with the team that they got. So I would bring back Clint Capella, because they had a good squad. And then if they go deeper in their bench, get some other good players, then I think that, they could have beat Golden State. Golden State showed a lot of weaknesses in this playoffs.
Yeah.
A lot. And they didn't capitalize on it. In the last two games, Houston didn't capitalize on it. They had their chance. That was their chance. Now, whether or not they can get back there next year, nobody knows. That remains to be seen. But right now, I say retain Chris Paul, because I'm a Chris Paul fan.
Yeah.
Like, I was following him when they were New Orleans Hornets.
Yeah.
And he took them with San Antonio when he got beat. And then all of a sudden with the Clippers. So Chris Paul is a definite leader. That's what Houston needs. James Harden's he's not that.
So here's the thing right here, Big Sarge. First of all, I think that they definitely need to re-sign Clint Capella.
Right.
Because he is what makes James Harden go.
Okay.
And with the pick and roll. This is what I want to ask you to now that you're in studio with us. Sports Talk with Big Sarge on Central Radio Network. 832-230-5592 is the number to call in. Here's how the Rockets' arrogance, starting from general manager Daryl Morey all the way down to the last player on the bench, played a factor into the Rockets losing this series.
Okay.
And it started in the regular season, not just Game 7 of the Western Conference. It didn't even start in the Western Conference Finals. It started earlier. And when you were talking and you said that limit Chris Paul's minutes in the regular season, and Chris Paul got hurt during the regular season,
right.
So did James Harden. This is how their arrogance killed them. You had the blueprint on what to do, but you hate the Golden State Warriors so much that you just knew the blueprint was out there and decided not to follow it. The year that Golden State was chasing the record to break the Bulls record of 72-10. They went 73-9. They lost the championship. The first thing they said after that, we were tired. They said we played so much just to try to break a regular season record that even though we were up 3-1, by the time it was game 5, 6, and 7, we were exhausted. This year, the Rockets won 65 games, broke a franchise record, got the number 1 overall seed, right? And at the end, James Harden looked tired. Lethargic.
Yes.
Eric Gordon looked tired, lethargic. You have to think about, you're shooting for a regular season record, but your team is so reliant on their legs with the jump shots.
Right.
They take so many jumpers. They take so many threes. If you're trying to just beat a regular season record, you should know that some way, somehow, we're going to have to rest these guys, because those guys play. If they were available, they played all the way to the last game, which is the same thing Golden State did when they lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yep. Now, here's another thing, too. So you're chasing this regular season record, right? You're going after these 65 wins. All the while, like I told you, Golden State showed you the blueprint, 73-9 when they lost the championship.
Yep.
Here's another thing that they didn't take into account from the Golden State Warriors, because they were, quote unquote, according to general manager Daryl Morey, they were built to beat Golden State. So they didn't want to do anything that Golden State was doing. I said right here on this show, when Tula was right here, I was right where you were, Big Sarge. I said and Tula disagreed with me, but I'm pretty sure that I'm making a great point now. I said, look at what the Golden State Warriors are doing. They don't care about what seed that they get at the end of the year because they don't care. They don't care about home court advantage. They would like to play at home, but
don't care.
But they don't care. So when everybody was up in arms, their last 20 games, they went like 11-9 or something like that. Curry set out some games.
Yep.
Thompson set out some games. Green set out some games. KD set out some games. They didn't care. They already knew that they weren't going to get the number 1 seed.
Right.
Houston is still pushing like they need the number 1 seed, but Golden State had already conceded it.
Yep.
So at that point, the coach and the general manager should say, hey, they've already conceded the fact they're going to be number 2. We're number 1. They're not going to catch us. Let's start scaling it back a little bit. We got Gerald Green. Let's start here. Let's get Bamute to get some more playing time.
Yep.
Let's get Ryan Anderson and Joe Johnson, because you can't bring them in game 6 and 7 of the Western Conference Finals
and try to expect them to play and win.
Look at what happened to Ryan Anderson. Ryan Anderson got spinned around like a top.
Yeah.
Man, Steph Curry made him look bad.
Yeah.
But if you would have rested your players, maybe Harden wouldn't have given you the last game 6 and 7.
Because they was
well,
bad.
Actually, if you go back, 5, 6, and 7, if I'm not mistaken, because I think game 5 he scored 24 points in the first half. Then he ended up with 30 points for the game. The next game he scored 22 points in the first half. Game 6, 22 points, ended with 32.
Right.
This game he started with like 17, 18 points, ended with 32, but on 29 shots.
Right.
So now you're looking at nobody else sees the pattern of, man, the second half, James Harden is gassed.
Done. He was done.
And Kevin Durant even said all we did when they interviewed him after Game 7, he's like, we knew James would get tired. He was dribbling too much. We just waited for him to get tired.
And that's when they put the cut.
Do you think that's a good point?
No, that's a great point, because what you're saying is they already know, like, and I think I was telling you that, like, they already know what they have in the team, man. They was like, so them sitting people, that's the smartest thing to do, because you're going so deep into the playoffs trying to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about, everybody want to sit there and think it's about the single season accolades. So who cares now?
Yeah.
Who cares that the Houston Rockets were 65-10? It'll go down to, they had a good season, but guess what? They lost in Game 7.
Yeah.
They was tied. You know, so looking at the game, if you was watching in the first quarter, Golden State was just poo-poo on the court.
Yeah.
And then you didn't see, Durant, they started dropping until the third quarter. It was like, okay, when they got their legs up under them. By that time, Houston was already mentally gassed.
Mm-hmm.
How do we not lose a 15-point lead?
So look, hold on, Bigger Sarge. Let me take this back to the military. It's almost like doing a 2-mile run and you go all out on mile 1.
Yeah.
But you still got mile 2 to run.
You got to go to that halfway point.
Right? So when you're running when you're running the 2 miles, excuse me, let me preface this by saying in the military, one part of the PT test, which is a physical training test that you have to do biannually for standards of the Army, one part of it, you got push-ups, sit-ups, and you got a 2-mile run.
Yep.
So what they train you to do is you always run, like every other day we would run 4 to 6 miles a day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because they's like, if you can run 6, 2 shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But what they taught you, especially we had a lot of experienced runners where I was stationed at, and you can attest to this too.
Right.
They teach you that roundabout after like 1.25, something else should have kicked in so you to be able to finish.
Second win.
To be able to finish, right?
Finish, yeah.
And that's how so many people finish strong at the end of the 2-mile run, and they're not struggling because they'll let all these people jump out. Because how many people have you seen struggle in that 2-mile run? Because you don't have to be the first one to win the first quarter mile.
Nope.
So that's what happened to the Rockets, correct?
That's exactly what happened to the Rockets. They ran out of steam, and they ran out at the wrong time. And it's unfortunate for them, but at the same time, like you said, they had the blueprint. All you do is, I want to say it's a copycat league, but they're telling you what they're going to do. They already won their 73-win season. That to them is nothing no more.
They got the record.
They want rings.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not nothing in the NBA unless you have rings, unless you're LeBron James. That's the X factor because he's in the East. But if you're in the West, you got to knock the Kings of the Castle. You got to knock them off the mountain.
Yeah.
And hey, they was close, but I hate that Chris Paul was hurt. Because I was really rooting for him
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, James Harden, to me, is just not the defining leader that they need. He's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good MVP.
Yes.
But if you're going to ask me who the MVP of the league is, it's got to be the King.
Yeah, I think we're up against a break, if I'm not mistaken.
So,
But before we do go to break, I'm going to say this, and let me take a step over here before I say this.
uh-oh. You going to say something that's going to get me riled up, dog?
I have to make sure I step over here to keep you in front of me so I can see you.
Oh, here we go.
It's kind of like how
I feel it. I can feel this coming.
it's kind of like how the Saints didn't finish against the
Oh, so now we talking about the Saints.
No, I'm just saying like
we didn't run out of gas though, BB. That just was a play. Drew Brees pretty much shut down. I mean, he came back in the second half against the Minnesota defense.
But it was 13 seconds left.
Right, and it was one play, and one play could cost us not going to the Super Bowl and playing against Tom Brady.
So I'm just saying, like the Rockets didn't.
We didn't run out of gas though.
The Rockets was up 15.
We didn't run out of gas,
But they were up 17. They were up 15.
But we were down. That's the total. That doesn't even make sense what you just said right now.
You just got to finish the game.
No,
you just got to finish.
Doesn't even make sense. We were down.
The Rockets, but y'all were up at one point.
We was up after we were down and we came back, and then all of a sudden it was 25 seconds left, and then that happened.
Y'all were up in the second half too, right?
We was up in the second half. We was down. In halftime, we was down. I forgot. We was down by like either 10, 12, 15 points, and we came back.
Yeah.
Drew Brees pretty much shut down. He figured out what their defense was doing, came on the field like he needed to do.
Well, I think that their safety got hurt too.
They're all
pro safety.
No.
Look it up.
I'm not gonna look it up.
They're all pro safety.
I'm not gonna look it up.
You know that all pro safety got hurt, right?
What does that matter though? So they safety got hurt, so that means all of a sudden their defense, Drew Brees, literally look at that guy. Look at his stats in that game.
My point is, you have to finish, and I'm still eyeballing you.
Okay, so since we're going on that, and we're gonna go to break. Since we talk about finishing,
it don't matter to me. The Cowboys never finish.
Oh, you know I
You're not gonna hurt my feelings with that.
I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but you always trying to open up that wound.
Hey,
we
listen,
closed that door on that, man.
The only person that finishes on the Cowboys,
Ooh,
Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, jeez.
With the Snow Bunnies. Sports Talk, the Big Sarge on City Radio Network. We'll be right back.